So, my hypothesis on what might be occurring is that perhaps these interdimensional portals are opening a pathway for entities that fall outside our visual range on the electromagnetic spectrum. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm looking at this more and more, and I'm working with paranormal researchers who know a lot more about this than I do. And are our extraterrestrial visitors interdimensional, or do they live in a parallel dimension? And do they use technology to come in and out of dimension? This is a quote. There are many universes and parallel universes, and sometimes they do leak, and we get a change in a timeline. However, the portals you are referring to, some are from other beings, and some are caused by your scientific experiments. That information was given to me directly from a non-human entity. So I want to talk about a little bit about case number 1 here. This resulted in spiritual growth, and it goes all the way back to the mid-1950s. But my Aunt Betty was friendly with this woman, Helen Knowles. Her husband was Admiral Herbert Knowles from the Army. Betty met him after he had retired because Betty and Barney, when their experience became known, were invited to the Knowles' home up in Maine. And so she and Helen Knowles became friendly. And Admiral Knowles and Mrs. Knowles were very familiar with a woman who lived in the local community. Her name was Frances Swan. And Frances Swan claimed that one night, suddenly, after she'd been to a meeting where she saw a strange-looking man, she went home and she started having this communication with non-human entities, and that they claimed that they were orbiting the Earth in giant craft, and those craft were so large that they held motherships and they held smaller UFOs. And they seemed to be very, very enlightened, spiritual beings. There was a lot of highly spiritual communication that was being given to Mrs. Knowles. And Admiral Knowles took a real interest in this. So the letter stated in part, Admiral Knowles told Ike that Frances Swan had the ability to answer scientific questions beyond her level of knowledge that came through automatic writing. Well, Admiral Knowles took a real interest in this, and he attempted to learn how to do this as well. And he was able, finally, to accomplish this. This is part of the letter that Helen wrote. She said, Herbie not only helped her out, meaning Frances, but personally endorsed her letter after he read it. Then, because its contents were of vital national importance, he addressed a personal letter to Washington, which brought a group of departmental top brass to our home. Much correspondence ensued, and when they learned that the information described in her letter was not orthodox or obtained by conventional means, they withdrew their interest and went home. And she wrote, I was getting tired of making sandwiches for that crowd during that time.